Hello, welcome back to another episode of Three Siblings Walk into a Bar. I'm Deshae, the oldest sibling.
Sage, the middle sibling.
And I'm Storm, the youngest sibling.
Listen, I hate just staring at myself in the screen the whole time. So I'm like, looking at y'all,
Yes,
really looking over here.
My eyes get really big. I'm like, yes, I'm so paying attention to you.
I'm making sure I'm not making like a stupid face, and then I'm looking at y'all like to make sure I'm not like super smiling when you guys aren't, or like it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter though. We just get super anxious about it every time those numbers come on the screen.
Yes.
It counts us down.
It's a mess.
All of us are. Y'all, as soon as we started recording, they have been fine this entire time. We've been sitting here talking for about 15-20 minutes, and as soon as we start recording, they start running back and forth.
My cat has been licking herself the whole time, and I was like, I swear to God, if she doesn't stop. It's one of those, like, I can't hear her, but I know she's making noise doing it, so I'm like trying, and then of course now she stopped. I'm like, thank God, because I was going to be like, pissed.
Well, when you can hear them, it sounds like sandpaper.
It's gross. So we have misophonia, obviously, so we can't hear like that noise. It drives me insane, and it used to bug the shit out of me. And I asked my mentor one day, I was like, "Does your cat do this?" And he goes, "Yes." And do you know why? And I was like, "Why?" And he was like, "Because he feels safe around you, and he realizes that nothing's going to happen to him when he's trying to take his bath when he's sitting right next to you." And I was like, "Okay, fine." And so he comes and he does it the next day, and he's sitting right next to me on the chair, and I'm like, "Okay, yes, everything." And I couldn't do it, so I plugged my ear, and then I could still see him, but I could I could hear it at the other ear. So I was like, "Just do what you need to do, and everything's fine. Everything is fine. No one freaked out." It was ridiculous.
It literally, it puts me into like a blind rage.
Yes,
like I will scream in your face because I can't. I will get up in the middle of a restaurant and yell at the man crunching his fucking chips. One, I just think it's rude. Close your mouth.
It is rude.
No
Close
one
your
wants
mouth.
to see what you're eating. And if I was talking over you talking, you would think that was rude. But you smacking as loud as humanly possible when I'm talking isn't rude. Because to me, it's the same thing. It's just rude.
Yeah.
And also,
and some people don't know they're doing it, which is crazy to me.
I know. I tell Matt that all the time. He has like a constant stuffy nose. So he's like, "I can't breathe. I can't taste." I'm like, "I don't give a shit. Close your mouth. I can't hear. I can't hear it."
And now Garrett's wanted. He thinks he's like a man, and he started doing that like thing that people do. And God. I can't stand that noise. It drives me absolutely fucking nuts. And then so he started doing it, and I'm like, "Garrett, stop it." And he's like, I have something in my nose." I'm like, "No, you don't. You're trying to sound cool. Stop it." I'm like, "You don't even have a stuffy nose."
Yeah.
You know what other noise that recently started bugging me? And when the people are clipping their nails.
Yeah.
I can hear when Eli's very meticulous. He's very well groomed. He, he does all the things. And I can hear him when I'm like, if I'm in the living room or somewhere and he's in his bathroom doing it, I'm like shaking because I can't stand the fucking noise.
Yeah.
And they know I can't stand it. But they don't give a shit. I mean,
something.
Yeah. There was one day.
Shut your bedroom door. Go in your closet. Shut that door and do it.
Exactly. Turn up all the music. Let's just get out of my way.
How hard is it?
Go drive down the street.
Yes.
I'm not asking a lot here. I don't understand what the problem is.
There was a couple of weeks ago, and I was sitting at the front of the shop watching TV, and one of the other artists comes up there, and he has his headphones in, and he's scrolling on his phone, and I can hear him chewing his gum. And he's sitting just like, "Okay, y'all, back up. Not the time." I can hear him chewing his gum. And I'm like, "Okay, like everything's fine. I'm not going to say anything. Everything's fine." And I was focusing, and I had my hand like this. And I was like, "Okay, everything's fine. Everything is fine." And then finally I was like, "You are fucking killing me with that gum." And he goes, "Oh." He just stands up and walks away, and I was like, I could have said it more nicely at the same time,
an
but
ass.
like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, but they don't understand how long you've been quiet
yes,
trying to like, you know.
it felt like an eternity. But I was watching a show, so I knew it was only like 5 minutes. So it was horrible, dude. It was so bad.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And also, I can't stand the noise of like, you know, like a bag of chips, the like crinkling, like getting out. And Stinky is the worst, where he's like eating like French fries, and he's like trying to get the French fries. I'm like, pour the fucking French fries out on the hamburger thing or whatever. Stop. And then Garrett and him were eating popcorn, you know, like out of the bag that you like open.
Yeah.
And I was like, I told them before they got it, I said, if I hear one of you crunch that popcorn, you're putting it up. And they're like, okay. And then it's a constant with the bag, because one of them reaches in to get popcorn, and when the other one takes it out, the other one reaches in. And so it's like, and I was like, put the fucking bag. And they were like, we weren't even crunching. I'm like, it keeps making noise.
Yeah. Even living alone, like by myself, I have popcorn bowls. I have big bowls that I will pour popcorn, chip, like anything that I'm eating out of a bag, I will pour it into a bowl. I can't. Even if I'm doing it myself, it makes me unreasonably angry.
Yes, it drives me nuts. And that's why I tell them all the time. I'm like, go get a bowl and pour it in the bowl. You don't need you don't need the whole bag, because you're going to eat way more than you need to. And two, I can't.
Do you think that we have some kind of like unresolved trauma from going to the movies when we were kids or something? Because all of this is from the movies. So like the popcorn bag and the candy.
So everything that I've read about it is like it's a control issue thing. And the only reason that I agree with it is because like when dogs are eating, it doesn't bug me. Or like when babies are eating, it doesn't bug me. But the second I know that you're old enough for me to tell you to close your mouth, it drives me absolutely fucking insane.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I know, so I'm like, anyway, like if dogs are eating, it doesn't, but like if they're licking themselves, it'll bug the shit out of me, because I know if I tap them, they'll stop, you know, like I can make them stop, but like I can't tell them to stop eating. So it doesn't bug me when they're eating, but I'm like, I can't. It's Zero for some reason. I don't know if he's like malnourished or like needs a vitamin or something. He licks the floor. He will just walk around licking all over the floor. I'm like, Zero, quit fucking licking the floor.
What's happening?
Oh, gosh. Oh, stress me crazy.
Yep. Trauma. Welcome.
I just hate everything that has to do with the noise.
Yep. It's worse with people that I live with, obviously, and people that I'm like close with.
Yes.
For me, it's worse.
The closer you are with somebody, the worse it is.
I swear, I know I've told y'all this before, but I'm going to have to record the way every single person in my office smacks when they eat. And it's not like it's like two of them, it's just like every time they chew.
No.
Every single time. And then there's a few of them that it's just like, I don't know if they just have to open their mouth or whatever. I don't know. And so I have just started, like, I'll just hang out in my office and wait until for a little bit, and then I'll go get my food, because I'm like, I will go insane. And then they'll come into my office to ask me a question with gum, and I'm like, I cannot even pay attention to what you're saying.
I don't even know what you're saying.
Exactly. I worked at a smoke shop for a long time, and we would order food like as a group, like we would all order food, and they would stand around and like talk and eat, and I would go into my office and sit down and eat, and then everyone's like, why do you never eat with us? And I was like, you don't. It's
you don't know how to close your fucking mouth.
Exactly. You don't want to know, and I don't want to be the asshole. So it's better if you just get the fuck away from me. It's bad. It's so bad. I feel like an asshole most of the time, but I also I'm so pissed in that moment that
I don't really care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, just thinking about it right now, I'm just like pissed.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
Shut the hell up. Everybody eating a snack right now is like trying really hard not to make any noise.
You're like, they put the bag of chips down. We can't hear you. It's fine. We're not going to be pissed. It's okay.
Right in the middle of this, out of nowhere, I'm just going to be like, shut the
hell up.
Yeah.
I feel like we've had more than one episode where this has been like the centric conversation.
Yeah.
But it's just so like we all have the same issue, and it's just as bad for all of us. It's not like one of us have it worse than the other. Like, it's so bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, is it like a hereditary thing?
Mom and dad don't have it.
Yeah.
I feel like with even out of the cousins and stuff, there was only a couple of us that did. It was always us.
We were always pissed.
It was always us.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like only a couple of us did because of the ice that we used to go to Mima's house, and the cousins used to chew ice, and we'd hold the sides of their heads because their heads move when they chew ice.
Oh my god!
Do you not remember that, Deshae?
I remember
vaguely.
They had the good ice, the crushed up ice out of.
Oh yeah, that's the good ice.
Machine.
Well, Dad, I remember Dad being like that with his plastic cup, and that's how I love to eat ice.
Yeah,
but he would do it.
Yeah,
like
out of that plastic cup and squeeze the sides of it.
And that noise too. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
You like, gotta have a plastic cup.
Yeah.
Yes, I can't. I'm like, because Garrett's that person, and Garrett's also really bad because he moves the cup around and he'll drink, and then he'll go. And I'm like, Garrett, stop making so much noise when you're drinking, please.
Literally, like, why does it have to be such a noisy activity? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Stop.
It's something that has recently started bugging me when I'm watching like movies and stuff, when people really enjoy food and they're like, oh my god. And I'm like, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No.
Or if you're breathing, I just spit on myself. Or if you're breathing too loud.
Look,
I'm like,
just be quiet. Like, you don't need to be noisy.
This is so fucked up, and I can guarantee there is some psychologist like listening to this. If anyone listens to this and they're like, wow. Y'all, like,
they're like, y'all are fucked up.
Yeah, exactly.
They're gonna email us and they're gonna be like, you have all of these issues.
Exactly.
You have all of these issues.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Hold on, I gotta fix. My hip is all jacked up.
My hips have also been really messed up recently. Speaking of psychologists, have you guys seen the show on Netflix called I Killed My Dad?
No.
It's like a docu-series, but this kid basically shoots his dad, and he actually shoots his dad, and then you find out more shit later. Basically. You find out some more shit later, but like the psychology of like how he was growing up was super, super fascinating to me. And like at a certain age, they said that everything just kind of turned off for him and he was completely monotone. And when he called the police and said, "Hey, I just killed my dad," they're like, "Are you sure he's dead?" And he's like, "Yeah, I mean, like there was 3 bullets, like there's blood everywhere. He's probably dead." Like, and he was just monotone it was wild. And so I haven't finished it, so I don't know like what happened to him, but it's fascinating.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Speaking of dying, Richard had to get on an airplane. You know, because of all the airplane things, he's been like totally dramatic about it, and I can't deal. And the plane that he's supposed to get on, they ended up not using it because something was wrong with it, and they didn't fly it. And so they were trying to find them a new plane. And he's like, "It's a sign. something's going to happen. And I was like, the sign is that something was wrong with that plane. And so they're getting you a new plane. And I'm like, I would rather get on a new plane than get on that plane.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh my gosh. And then in the middle of it, okay, keep in mind, it's very like windy and cloudy. Okay.
Yeah.
And he's like,
yeah,
it's so bumpy. And I said, yes, because it's cloudy. And I'm like, dear, if you're going to die, it's going to be because you got stabbed because of where you're at, not because of an airplane.
Yeah.
So, and he's like, yeah, you're right.
Isn't that like a 30-minute flight where he was going? It's like super short, I think.
So quick.
Your husband he needs to realize that he is not Devon Sawa from the fucking Final Destination films, and he will be okay.
Listen, I feel him though.
Airplanes, I get it.
I don't like to fly. I don't like to fly.
Flying whatsoever. Like, I literally don't care. But then I remember, because like if I'm driving, he'll like it's like it gives him anxiety. He'll be like, you need to be a little bit further over. No, you need to stop. You're too close.
It's a control thing.
You can't get in that lane. You can't get in that lane.
Yeah.
Will you go back over there? And I'm like, then you just fucking drive if this is how we're going to be.
That's his misophonia. That's his misophonia. That's what that is.
I'm like,
yeah.
I remember the worst flight I've ever been on to date was the shortest flight I've ever been on to San Antonio, which was like 40 minutes. It was the bumpiest flight I've ever been on. It was horrible. People were like putting their hands up in the air because they're like pretending they're on a fucking roller coaster. While I'm back here in the very back in the middle of these two big guys, because it was the only seat. And Eli is like 6. So he's sitting in front of the row in front of me. And then he's going like this. He loves flying. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm literally back there like popping Dramamine and like Xanax because I'm like, get me off this fucking plane. It was so short that they didn't even bring you drinks. And I'm like, it was horrible.
I still remember like when we were in the airport about to go to Disney and Deshae just pulls out this like little thing and we're all sitting there talking and like eating and she's like, yeah. It was Xanax. She was just eating the Xanax. And I was like, all right, dude, whatever, like, live your life.
And then she
your best journey, dude.
Silly. And then I hear her clear as day. She thought she was whispering. And if you could hear her voice, it was one of those, she whispered like this. Like, I'm trying to pretend like I'm whispering, but I'm so loud. And then she like gets over to Matt's ear and she goes, are you embarrassed? Are you embarrassed to be married to me? And Matt looks and gives her a look, and I was like, yes. And I am very embarrassed for your sister right now.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Listen, I'm prescribed them. Let's get that out of the way.
Yes. It's like the drunk bachelorette girl.
They're prescribed from the guy in the minivan down the road. Yeah.
But then I take like 4 Dramamine on top of that.
Yeah.
So I vaguely remember when we got off the plane and then when we were
off the plane, I don't remember anything else.
When we were in the shuttle to go to the hotel, I vaguely remember going in and out, and I think like Trip and Eli, I think they were like laughing and I don't know, probably making fun of me. Oh my God.
We didn't even really do anything that night, did we?
No, I think you just went to like eat.
Yeah.
Well, good. Because you wouldn't have remembered anything.
Yeah. And I don't know how you can take Dramamine like that. I literally take half a Dramamine and I'm out for the whole day. I can't take them like that. I don't know.
You know, it doesn't bother me. And like, I get the non-drowsy ones and then the original formula. And I don't think they're any different. I don't think.
Oh, well, maybe that's why. But I will literally take the non-drowsy one, and I'll take half of one, and I like. I'm out.
You should try the kids one.
Yeah.
I get them for the boys. They don't really need them because, I mean, Eli can get a little bit motion sickness, but he also doesn't take kids version anymore. But they're like chewable, and they're,
Yeah.
We used to get motion sickness all the time. We also grew up in the mountains, so we were like going to Missouri and all kinds of shit. So I mean,
you would think that we'd be used to it. Because literally,
you would think.
I mean, all the roads were like this, you know.
No, I still remember
yeah.
one time we were coming back from Silver Dollar City, and it was one of our aunts that was driving us, and I kept telling her, I was like, I'm sick, I'm going to throw up. And she would pull over, and I was fine. But it was the motion of what was happening. And she was like, do you even know, like, when you're going to throw up? Do you know what it feels like? And I was like, listen, lady, just because...
If I throw up all over your car.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't know why I remember that. It was just such a fucking out of pocket question to ask like an 8-year-old that's dry heaving on the side of the road. Like, come on,
do
lady.
You even know what it's like? Have you ever thrown up before?
Right, exactly.
Oh, God.
That's one of the reasons why I don't like flying, because I know that it can potentially make me nauseous, and I hate feeling sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody likes it, but that's one of the reasons. And I can't fly the plane, so
right,
that's a bummer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Y'all should have seen me on the. I had to fly back by myself from Disney. Y'all should have seen me on that plane. I can guarantee people were worried, like around me, because I was sitting in the chair like this the whole time, and I found one thing to focus on, and it was an exit sign that was in like 4 different languages. And I sat there and I just read it over and over and over again, and people were like walking by, and I was like, the whole time, it's like,
what would you like to drink? And you're just like.
It was, yeah.
What a drink it.
It was wild.
Yeah.
That's what gives me anxiety is airports. Because I have no clue how to get through an airport because I've always been with somebody. So I just follow people around, you know, like a little kid. And if I ever had to go to the airport by myself, I'd be like, Yeah.
Mom knows that I get really anxious when I have to like do new things like that. And so she was like, this is what you have to do step by step by step. And as soon as I get off of the shuttle at the airport, I forget every word that she says.
You forget everything, yeah.
And so I went up to the guy that was driving the shuttle, and he was like, I don't work for the airport, but I think and I was like, okay, enough said. I have to find someone who actually works here. It was so bad. It was so bad.
Hey,
I hated it.
Okay.
I'm almost 40 years old, and I had to ask multiple people how to get around this airport.
But that's a big airport, the Orlando airport. That is a big airport.
Yeah, so, there was a full ass shuttle inside the airport. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ridiculous.
All right. It's already been almost 23 minutes.
Yeah.
Of us doing nothing but complaining.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
We just really needed this today.
Heard so much smacking. I just needed to complain about it.
Okay. So I'm going to tell y'all a couple stories.
A list, if you will.
A list. Listen. It's been a week. I have a couple of things pinned, but I did not have time to research. So
I get it.
Listen, it's been a minute. So I thought this was kind of interesting. This is 10 of the strangest unsolved hospital mysteries.
Ooh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this was written by Robin Warder, and this was from like June 2015. So the first one is the disappearance of Joan Gay Croft. Never heard of them, but here we go. Okay, so April 9th, 1947, an F5 tornado hit Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas, causing hundreds of deaths and just destroyed towns. One of the towns was Woodward, Oklahoma, where 185 people were killed and a ton more were injured. Joan Gay Croft lived in Woodward, and she wound up losing her mom that day. Her stepfather was critically injured, and both Joan and her 8-year-old half-sister, Jerry, suffered minor injuries. They were taken to a local hospital to stay in the basement because I guess that was what they were using as a shelter for, people who didn't have anywhere to go. She was 4 years old, by the way. Yeah, ugh. Sometime during that night, two unidentified men dressed in khaki army uniforms went into the basement and grabbed Joan. When she was kicking and screaming that she didn't want to leave her sister, the two men assured her that everything was fine and that they would return her to her sister. Hospital staff members confronted the men, but they said that they were taking Joan to another hospital to see her family. Two men were allowed to leave with her, but did not return. Joan was never seen again. Strangely, the men had specifically asked for her when they entered the room, which implied that they knew her. The case got national attention all over for several decades. She was never located. In 1999, there was a newspaper editor for the Oklahoman. He got an email from a woman claiming to be Joan, who said she had been living under a different name with her families, and her family knew that. The woman agreed to meet, but then cut all communications and never met them. Still a mystery, still have no idea what happened to her, and it's one of the most unusual child abductions on record thus far.
That's really weird because there's no information.
No. And like the fact that the hospital let them leave with her.
Yeah. I mean, even if they are in military uniforms, like if you're just going in there looking for, why are you looking for this one girl?
Yeah, and why wouldn't, if you were taking her to her family, why wouldn't you take her sister as well?
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So that's dumb.
And also, why do they just have a 4-year-old? And no, you said the other one was 8, just chilling by themselves.
I know. Yeah. Why were they not being supervised?
There was a devastating tornado, but
yeah. All right. Next, we have the Ann Arbor Hospital murders. Summer of 1975 was apparently the worst time ever to be a patient at the VA hospital in Ann Arbor, Michigan. During a 6-week period, 35 patients suffered from unexplained respiratory attacks, and 11 of them died.
Oh my God. I would be a nurse.
Yeah. An FBI investigation was launched. There was evidence that most of them had received unauthorized injections of Pabulon, which is an anesthetic muscle relaxant, through their IV feeding tubes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. 2 Filipino nurses, Leonora Perez and Filipina Narcisco, were both brought up as potential suspects. They happened to be working on the shifts when the supposed injections were given. One of the surviving victims even identified Leonora. It said that she had entered his room and run off right before he suffered from his respiratory attack. Even though both nurses were like, no, this wasn't us, there was a bunch of evidence against them. They were indicted on 10 counts of poisoning, 5 counts of murder, and 1 count of conspiracy. They were convicted in July 1977. Their trial apparently was very controversial, and people were throwing out racism. The patient who identified one of them was considered to be unreliable, and they called him an alcoholic.
Oh.
At one point, he actually referred to the nurses as slant-eyed bitches. Oh my God, bitches.
God.
Yeah. And he claimed that there was a conspiracy among the Filipino nurses to murder American veterans.
Damn.
Wow.
So as both of the nurses, they did not know each other that well. Their defenders considered it very unlikely that they would come together to murder patients together.
Yeah.
There was a nursing supervisor that committed suicide shortly before their trial began. And there were unconfirmed reports that she left behind a note taking responsibility for the deaths. 7 months after the trial, their convictions were overturned on appeal due to allegations of prosecutorial misconduct. They were both released and the charges were dismissed. And so the murders are still unsolved.
Wow. Most likely it was all three of them.
Most likely, especially like
if it started with like the head nurse, like she's the one who has to like call for these things, and then they had to go administer them. So
and also that guy might have been a racist asshole. But like, if you almost died, are you going to pick the person that did it? Or are you going to pick the person just because you're racist? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You could still be racist and still pick the right person.
Right.
For sure.
Not to say that the racism, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? But
ridiculous.
Hate everybody.
Okay. The disappearance of Benita Chamberlain, February 13th, 1978. 24-year-old Benita Chamberlain checked into the Sacred General Hospital in Eugene, Oregon to give birth to a baby girl. The baby was born 5 weeks premature and had a low birth weight, so she had to stay in the hospital for over a week. Benita returned to the hospital on the morning of February 23rd, and she was told that the baby was good, fully recovered, and would be ready to go home at around 1:30. Benita phoned a friend to share the news with her, and that ended up being the last time that anyone ever heard from her. She never took her baby home that day. When Benita didn't return home that night, her mother reported her missing. Shortly after, her purse was found in a parking lot at the University of Oregon, and later her abandoned car was found parked at a nearby bottling factory. She had been seen driving her vehicle out of the hospital parking lot the previous morning, but no one knows what happened to her after that. She left behind her newborn child and 2 other daughters. This is gross. Weeks later, a plastic bag containing a severed female thigh was discovered in a garbage bin, which was initially believed to be connected to Benita's disappearance, but it ended up belonging to another murdered woman from the area.
God.
It's been almost 40 years, well, longer now, but there's still no trace of her. They have no idea what happened to her.
So another murdered woman in the area where it's just a piece of a thigh. It's most likely a serial killer or something like that.
Yeah. For sure.
Interesting.
Oh my goodness.
It's still wild to me that there's
Yeah.
Let me go throw them outside.
It's so wild to me that there are cases like that, like everywhere. And no one knows anything about it.
I know.
It's so crazy.
It's infuriating. It's like, what?
And the amount of shit that we do here, like, there's so much more that we don't. And it's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
I just gave them a death stare. They both looked at me. They were like,
okay. This one is the Toronto Hospital for Sick Children. This does talk about infant deaths, just FYI. From June 1980 until March 1981, Toronto's Hospital for Sick Children went through a horrible, horrible time as their infant mortality rate spiked by over 600%.
Jesus.
That's absolutely horrible. The first suspicious death took place on June 30th, 1980. 18-day-old Laura Woodcock died unexpectedly. Over the next 9 months, around 40 infants died under suspicious circumstances as well. 27-day-old Kevin Garnett passed away on March 12, 1981, after a fatal dosage of the heart-regulating drug digoxin was found in his system. Jeez. And they launched an investigation. By the end of the month, nurse Susan Nels was arrested for murder. Even though there was no hard evidence against her, over 20 of the suspicious infant deaths had occurred on her shifts. The case against her completely fell apart. The charges against her were dropped in May of 1982.
What?
Yeah. Investigators continued to inquire about the case on April 23rd, 1983. 2 days after a new inquiry was called, a 6-month-old infant died at the hospital. Fatal levels of the same drug, digoxin, were found in his system. Eventually, another nurse on staff, Phyllis Trainer, was brought up as a potential suspect. Reportedly, she had been seen injecting the IV line of one of the victims 3 hours before the child died. However, she, of course, said, no, it wasn't me, and no charges were ever filed against her.
Wow.
Recent years, a new theory came about that they were actually not murdered, but that possibly the traces of digoxin were actually a chemical compound called MBT, which could have leached off of the rubber seals of IV lines and plastic syringes, inadvertently causing a fatal reaction.
Oh my God.
What?
Yeah, so a major manufacturing hospital error. Basically they still have no idea. It's not solved.
Wow.
Damn.
A bunch of babies were killed and they don't know who or what.
That's wild.
I feel like it couldn't have been that.
Yeah.
Because those drugs go out everywhere.
So
yeah.
You're just saying that just those particular ones that one time.
Right.
I feel like that could be.
Yeah, was the hospital reusing their tubes, or what was happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I don't know how they did it back then, but I know that when stuff like that happens, you have to have major investigations, everything is looked through.
Yeah.
So, listen, who knows? Okay, this is about the miraculous recovery of Owen Thompson. He had a near-death experience. On December 16th, 1981, Owen saw his friend being attacked on a New York street corner and intervened to help him. He was stabbed 3 times in the chest and abdomen. His heart, liver, and gallbladder were punctured. By the time anyone came over to help, his intestines were hanging 20 centimeters, which is 8 inches, out of his stomach.
Oh my gosh.
Owen was rushed to Beekman Downtown Hospital. When he arrived, his body had already lost so much blood that his chances of survival were just non-existent. His heart stopped beating. He had no pulse or blood pressure by the time the doctors went to work on him. His bowels had also been severed by the stabbing, so his intestines were covered in feces.
Oh my God.
Although Owen was clinically dead for over 5 minutes, somehow he survived several hours of surgery.
Over 5 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Can his brain still function properly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
that's unheard of. The doctors were terrified that the longer period of oxygen deprivation would cause severe damage to his brain, but he was completely coherent when he woke up, and he had no negative after effects. His recovery defied all medical logic. Everyone involved literally thought it was a genuine miracle. Later, Owen described a vision of entering heaven where he encountered his older brother, Christopher, who had died in a car crash 2 years earlier. Owen said Christopher pushed him out of heaven, saying, "We don't want you."
Wow. What a typical brother, you know what I mean?
I know. I know. Owen Thomas's unlikely recovery still is one of the most miraculous near-death experiences on record.
That's fucking wild.
That is wild.
Crazy.
That's like
so crazy.
That's like the guy that like got shot in the head with the bow and arrow and still lived.
Yes.
It's just those.
Who do you think is like? What are you doing now? I want to Google him. Like, what are you doing now? Like, why did you survive that?
They said there was no negative after effects. So
no. Are you
and
like
why aren't they
cancer?
studying him? Yeah.
Like, what were you meant to do here?
Because they don't want to know why. Because that means saving more people.
Yep.
Don't start with me on medical conspiracies.
Oh, yeah.
But that just reminded me of the story. Do you remember that kid? I don't know that he was a kid. I think he was like college age. He might have been older. I don't really remember how old he was. But he had ended up in a coma. I don't remember what from. And years later, everybody was like, you just need to unplug him. Like, he's never going to wake up. And then years later, he woke up. And he's like, I remember everything. He was like, I could hear, I could see. He's like, everything.
Oh my God.
And he like sat and was like, I heard. He's like, I don't feel ill will towards it because I know I was, a burden. He was like, but I heard my mom tell me she wished I would just die. And he was like, my dad used to come in there and he would read me a story every night before he went to bed. And like, it was crazy. And he would just like name off all the shit that happened for years that he was in a coma. I'm like, that's
terrifying.
Yeah.
And
oh my
even
God.
like people in comas, because people are like, they're in a coma, they don't know. And I'm like, are you doing like minor surgical things on them and not numbing them because you think they can't feel you, but really like they can absolutely feel you? Like, just scary.
Yeah.
Jeez. That's like that movie Awake.
Oh,
yes.
I hated it so much. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes.
I watched it once and never again. Never again. No. Okay. This is the disappearance of Philistine Saint. All right. Philistine Saint was a 66-year-old Haitian immigrant who lived in Florida in 2006. On April 26th of that year, they suffered a medical emergency. Oh my God.
What is up with you today?
Emergency?
Emergency. He was airlifted to North Naples Hospital, which was about 40 miles away from where he was treated for high blood pressure. By the following morning, he had made a full recovery and was discharged from the hospital. The staff gave him a voucher for a cab ride home. The taxi made the 65-kilometer journey from Naples to Immokalee, which is where he was from. But Philistine did not speak English, so he was unable to give the driver his address. So the driver was forced to take him back to the hospital. The staff then gave him instructions for how to take the bus home to Immokalee. They told him, they sent him towards a nearby bus stop. No one knows if he ever got on the bus. After leaving the hospital, he never arrived home and was never seen again. not only did he not speak English, he must have suffered from undiagnosed dementia at the time of his disappearance. He may have actually just forgot his address while he was in the cab. Or when he went to the bus stop, he got disoriented, wandered off, something. But there has been no trace of him since 2006.
That is so sad.
Yeah.
Could they not have just written down his address? Did he not?
I know.
Did the hospital not have his address?
It's 2006. Like there's enough technology and stuff around that time to know.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
That is so sad.
So sad. Can't people.
Yeah.
Patricia Maddox and Joyce McFadden. December 30th, 1983, Patricia and Joyce were a pair of research assistants in their 30s. They were working together in the Cancer Research Laboratory at Riverside Hospital in Columbus, Ohio. Their supervisor stopped by the lab that day, and he discovered Joyce's body on the floor. She was hogtied and gagged. She had been stabbed 19 times, and her throat was slashed.
Holy cow.
After the police were notified, Patricia's body was also found inside a nearby cold room, also bound and gagged. She had 16 stab wounds and a slit throat.
Oh my
God. Both of their wedding rings were missing. 3 months after the murders, Patricia's husband, William, became a person of interest after he collected $350,000 on the insurance policy.
Oh my
and
God.
He moved to Florida. Christmas Eve, 1984, a Miami woman named Regina Platt was found dead in her home with a shotgun blast to the head. They ruled it a suicide, but they quickly were like thinking maybe her husband did it. Especially once it was discovered that the Platts had close ties with William, Patricia's husband. Then they come up with a theory that William and Michael might have agreed to a secret pact to murder their wives. Over the next year, the two men were committed. They committed a series of bank and armored car robberies. And on April 11, 1986, they were both killed in a violent shootout with the FBI after they killed two FBI agents.
Jesus.
Holy poo.
Yeah. They still are the prime suspects for the murders, but they don't have any evidence to tie them to it.
Interesting.
Definitely sounds like it was them.
Damn. Like, I don't know how they
It
would.
almost just seems like a open and shut case. Like it's
Kinda.
like,
Yeah. Like,
just,
hello.
Yeah.
Okay. This is December 1965. There's an elderly man named Carl Rohrbeck. He was admitted to Riverdale Hospital in Oradell, New Jersey for hernia surgery. His surgeon, Dr. Mario Jaskilovich, made a inexplicable last-minute decision to cancel the surgery, and Carl died shortly thereafter. Over the next 10 months, 8 more patients suffered suspicious, unexplained deaths after being admitted to Riverdale for seemingly routine surgery. October 1966, empty bottles of tubocurarine, which is an anesthetic muscle relaxant, were discovered inside Dr. Jaskilovich's locker.
What?
Yeah. As he was on duty when all 9 victims died, he was suspected of injecting them with the fatal doses of the drug. He denied all of the allegations, of course. Son of a bitch. Hold on. My phone
Did you make
possessed.
yourself lose your space?
Yeah. Where'd it go? Oh, okay. denied all the allegations, claiming he had been using the tubocurarine to perform experiments on dying dogs.
What?
That's horrible.
No.
Still not any better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After an internal investigation, he quietly resigned from the hospital.
Quietly. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Years later, Myron Farber, which is a New York Times reporter, got an anonymous letter from about the deaths at Riverdale Hospital. He conducted a thorough investigation into the case, published several articles about what he found. He protected Dr. Jaskolovich's identity by referring to him as Dr. X.
Mm.
His articles prompted an exhumation of the 5 Riverdale victims. Traces of tubocurarine were found in 3 of the bodies. Dr. X was charged with 5 counts of murder, and other doctors from Riverdale had performed surgery on the victims before their untimely deaths. It was it was theorized that Dr. X committed the murders to sabotage his colleagues' careers. As you do.
I've never understood this.
I've never understood it.
There is so much record of literally everything. You're never going to get away with this. But apparently some people do. I don't get it.
Also, why is everything, like, I get competition and I get it's healthy. I have never been like, I'm going to murder them if I don't get that spot. You know, like, I don't understand
I don't either.
Be happy for people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so lack of evidence. 2 of the murder charges against him were dismissed in 1978. He was acquitted of the other 3 murders at trial. He returned to his native Argentina and died 6 years later.
So he just got to go back home?
He got to go back home and live his life for 6
when
more
was
years.
This?
Cool.
The 60s?
It was in the 80s. 80s? Oh, wait. 60s, 65. 65 and 66, yeah.
It reminds me of Nurse Ratched for some reason. Like, that
show was... Oof.
Oh,
it was good, but it was...
Yeah.
Okay. I have 2 more. Tavish. This is the disappearance of Tavish Sutton. Tavish was only 1 month old when he was admitted to Atlanta's Grady Memorial Hospital, March 6, 1993. He underwent minor surgery to remove an abscess from his body, and the procedure was successful. At the time, Tavish was in the care of the Department of Family and Children Services because his mother suffered from schizophrenia. Oh my God. Schizophrenia. For fuck's sake.
Schizophrenia, new drug
name. She's trying to make it sound fancy.
Yeah.
And she was being treated in a mental institution. 3 days after he was admitted while recovering from his surgery in the pediatric ward, Tavish vanished without a trace.
What?
A nurse had checked on him in the ward that morning. She returned 15 minutes later and he was gone. His mother filed a lawsuit against the hospital for allowing her child to be abducted. They eventually reached a $600,000 settlement. Neither his mother nor anyone from her family is considered a suspect in this disappearance. They never found any solid suspects. Rumors did go around about an unidentified woman who lived near the hospital and reportedly liked to pretend she was pregnant. One theory, they think she snuck in and abducted him from the ward to raise as her own. No evidence has ever turned up to support that, though. Yeah, they still don't know what happened to him.
That is so sad.
Yeah.
So sad. Like, I, as a parent, I can't.
I still remember, like, I think it was when Tripp was born, and I realized that there's like an alarm on him. Like, if you leave a certain area, like, And I was like, this is insane. Like, who's going to do that? But
people
fucking
do
it all the time, which is crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
And they wouldn't do anything to any of the babies unless they stand, because we had matching bracelets.
Yeah.
So not only would the alarm go off, but like they wouldn't touch him or do anything unless they scanned both of our bracelets and they were the same.
Yeah.
Like, it's all crazy, which is good.
It is. I'm sure they have like lots
And
of
then
checks and balances
like,
in place now.
accidentally bring the wrong baby home, you know? Like,
yeah.
I always wonder about that, like getting switched at birth or something. Like it had to have happened at least a few times.
I'm sure. Yeah.
They did an episode about that on the Midwives show that I watch on Netflix. And of course this was back in like the 50s or 60s, but they both lived in the same town, but I don't know, at the birthing center something happened. There was like a fire, so they had to leave, and the midwife ends up giving them the wrong baby. One of the babies ends up being sick and needing like an operation. They ended up figuring out later, and they ended up, giving them back. But it was very like the moms were like already attached, and it was sad.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Hopefully they also
right.
Yeah. It's okay. Last one. This is the miraculous recovery of Chucky McGivern. In December 1982, 7-year-old Chucky was admitted to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and diagnosed with a rare disease called Ray's syndrome. It attacks the brain, liver, and the nervous system. He went into a coma, and his family was told he only had about a 10% chance of survival. Hoping for a miracle, Chucky's mother pinned a medal to his bed, which had the likeness of St. John Newman, which was a noted religious figure who became the Bishop of Philadelphia during the mid-19th century and was eventually canonized by Pope Paul. For whatever reason, the presence of this medal seemed to cause a bunch of crazy things. The medal containing St. John's likeness had been threaded to a safety pin alongside 2 other medals. But on many occasions, Chucky's mother would go back to his room. She would see that the medal had been unthreaded and it was turned face down. And things get even weirder when a picture of St. John was found taped to the wall. No one from his family nor the hospital staff admitted to putting it up there. And an unidentified boy kept showing up in the ward and would go into Chucky's room and would interact with his family. Security was called. They couldn't find the boy. No one saw him entering the hospital. 4 days after going into his coma, Chucky woke up and made a miraculous, unlikely recovery. He described a dream in which he saw this same mysterious boy standing over him. After Chucky was discharged from the hospital, his family made a trip to the shrine of St. John and saw a painting of St. John when he was 12 years old, and he looked exactly like the boy that had been coming into his room at the hospital.
That's fucking crazy.
Crazy?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Religious figures, ghosts, and children.
I love that.
No.
Yes.
And
all the scariest things there ever was.
Like, no.
Yes.
I'm okay on all of that. Like, I'm glad everything turned out good, but no.
No thanks.
I think we've talked about this before, but you remember when it was me and Sage, because you were already there. We went to go see Mom and she was in the hospital. It was really late. And we couldn't really figure out where we were going because you could only get in through the emergency thing. And we were walking through, and I was like, "Is this like a scary movie?" And you know how you always say like hospitals are never like this. Like they're always there's always people. No, there
No,
was
they totally
no one.
Yeah.
We went through all these hallways and stuff and didn't see a soul. And I'm like, this is fucking creepy as hell.
And they had the energy lights, so all the lights were off unless you walked through them, and then they would turn on and then turn off behind you. It was fucking creepy, dude.
It was the worst thing to ever happen ever.
That was a big ass hospital too. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got
it's
really
a big
lost
hospital.
in there. Mm-mm.
It's easy to get lost in, but yeah. That's it.
Damn. Those are wild.
That last one kind of scared me a little bit. That is so
I know.
Also, I never want to have a minor operation ever because I feel
I'm
like
already
most of us had to
freaked
do
out.
A minor operation.
Yeah. I'm already freaked out that I'm like falling apart because I'm getting old, and then like I hear this shit and I'm like, cool. I'm just gonna stay in my house for the rest of my life.
Yep.
I can pretty much forever with a hernia. It's fine.
Yeah,
fine.
Everything's fine. Just push it back in.
Everything's fine.
It's okay. Everything's fine.
Yeah, I'm not. Oh, that was crazy.
Ew, hospitals are gross.
Yeah, they really are.
The smells, I just,
I
can't.
I was watching Euphoria the other day. I don't know why. Anyways, I was watching Euphoria the other day, and one of the girls was like, I love hospitals. And she's like running around hospitals, like dancing with her IV bags and shit. And I'm like, who loves hospitals? I just don't. I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
No.
I don't understand.
And that's why it's a made up show, because nobody would have said
that
in real life.
Yeah.
No.
One of my favorite things of all
whatever
time.
writer wrote that is insane.
Yeah. This has nothing to do with the rest of the show at all, but there's this girl and anyways, they're driving down the road and they're like, isn't that girl? I thought she died. And there's this girl in the back seat and she goes, ew, I hate ghosts. And I was like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with you. And I love her so much. She has like 3 lines in the entire thing of the whole thing, but they're perfect. Every time she does them, I can't remember. Ew, I hate ghosts. I love it so much. It's so good.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
But now I say that a lot. Ew, I hate ghosts. And no one knows what I'm talking about, but I think it's freaking hilarious every time I say it.
I have been seeing all those TikToks that's like, when I say this and nobody gets it. And so I've just been thinking about all the things I say, and I'm like, I hope people understand what that. And it reminds me of the "What's in the Box" thing, or Richard had no clue what the fuck I was saying for years. Oh my God! But anyway, when you were talking about the tornado, did y'all watch the tornado documentary about the Joplin tornado on Netflix?
I haven't seen it yet.
You have got to watch it. It is fucking crazy.
I just heard about it the other day, and I was like, I have to like mentally prepare myself for
Oh
this.
my God.
Yeah.
And I told Richard, because Richard's a big old scaredy cat when it comes to tornadoes. It's not that I'm like not afraid of them, but they don't, like, he'll have a full-on anxiety attack if there like is a possibility of a tornado.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you are not allowed to watch this. And then after I watched it, I was like, holy fucking shit, you need to watch that.
There are certain things that like I just can't do. Like the Boston Marathon bombing documentary. The first 20 minutes of it is footage of people that were there and like while it's happening, and I was like, I can't watch this. Like I couldn't even fast forward through it because I felt like disrespectful, but then I could not watch the rest of it, and I was like, I just couldn't do it. It was wild to me. And so for the Twister one, apparently there's like a bunch of like actual video of like while it was happening and shit.
So there is, but a lot of it is AI.
Okay.
So there is like, because there's one, he's an adult now, but he was a teenager then. and it's like security footage video.
Okay.
So like you can kind of see what's going on, but not like well.
Yeah.
And then, but there is one part that like made me cry. It was two siblings that were together, and he was holding on to her, and it because they were storm chasers, so they had like videos and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was like all audio, and all you're watching is them listening back to it. And he's just screaming. He's like, "This hurts so bad. It's so painful. This hurts so bad." And I'm like, "Oh my God." And then you can tell they're both trying really hard not to cry because you know that they remember exactly what it was like. Like, it was just,
oh my God.
Crazy. The whole story. And then it like follows like a few people that were all in the tornado. Oh my God. It was crazy. Anyway, so you should all go watch it. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, I definitely need to watch it. All right. Well, on that note, Storm, if they want to hear some more of our incessant ramblings, where would they go and find us?
We are on Facebook, Three Siblings Walk Into a Bar. We are on what? See, I can't talk now either. We are on Instagram at Three Slip Podcast. Go on there, like, comment, do all the things. Also, please rate and review. It is super helpful for us. We are on YouTube sometimes if the videos want to work. And yeah.
All right. Well, that's what happens when three siblings walk into a bar.